The Championship Racing Network.
Hey, welcome back into the show. Steve West, Matt Nicholson, producer John, working on some stuff because we found out that our system decided it was going to take a weird little left turn there.
Yep.
So if you were watching on CRN Live on YouTube, sorry about that.
It's popping back up shortly.
Right. So sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. We'll get that back up and rolling here. Producer John going to get that taken care of. All right, let's talk a little Formula One here as we get into hour number 2 of the show. First of the 2026 schedules is dropped. And again, we gave you a preview of it, highlighting one particular section of it during the Crossed Flags podcast, again on CRN Live, but we're going to go over the whole thing right now. It looks very similar, truth be told, to this year. They're continuing to schedule races based upon regions to kind of cut down on each team's travel bills. This is basically an attempt to try and help them with their budget constraints. 2026 season set to start March 6th through the 8th that weekend. It'll run through the weekend of December 4th through the 6th. It will go to 5 of the planet's 7 continents. We begin once again in Australia, then go to Asia, races in China and Japan, before they then go to the Middle East for the races in Bahrain and Saudi Arabia. So all of that, what that does effectively is it skirts around the holiday of Ramadan, Muslim holiday of Ramadan.
Right.
That's the intent. That's what they're looking to do. And you know, to their credit, they were able to do it. So good news on that part. Sorry, I'm trying to catch up and see where John is when it comes to CRN Live.
He's on the 2026 schedule.
Okay. All
What's
right.
up?
I'm just gonna back out of YouTube here and just not have that up there. So sorry, ladies and gentlemen who are checking us out there. I'm not going to be part of the chat.
Yeah, part 2 is he's got a rego and everything's up, and
Okay.
the 2026 schedule is showing right now.
Okay. So I'm just not going to be part of the chat. So just to let you know that, my apologies right now. All right. So once they do that, then from the Middle East, they come to North America, and I use that term purposefully due to what we detailed on Cross Flags. They're going to head to Miami the first weekend of May. Then 2 weeks later, they're going to run the Canadian Grand Prix, and then they're going to head over to Europe and run the Monaco Grand Prix. And Monaco shifts back to June 5th through the 7th.
3 weeks.
Which is this weekend, in effect, next year, right?
Why is I've ever since this came out.
I'm sorry, you're right about that number of weeks.
Ever since this came out, I do not understand and cannot understand why is there a 3-week break when you're on the same continent.
Yeah. I mean, are you guys riding bicycles from Miami to Canada?
It is a 24-hour drive from Hard Rock Stadium, and I'm going to call it Hard Rock Stadium.
Sure.
To Circuit Gilles Villeneuve in Montreal.
Yeah.
Unreal.
We'll get back to that. But let's deal with this schedule real quick. Because if you think about it, let's start with that one that's at the top in this little portion right here. That's Miami. That Miami race, if next year's IndyCar and NASCAR schedules are basically equivalent to what they are this year, that means that the Miami Grand Prix is going to happen on the same day that IndyCar is going to be at Barber Motorsports Park.
I'm going to go even this far, depending on how it shakes out. Because we know that here within our beloved little state, that it does shift from time to time.
It does.
So there's either going to be possibly one of 2 scenarios happen. As you just said, IndyCar at Barber, F1 at Miami.
Mm-hmm.
Or there could be F1 at Miami, NASCAR at Talladega.
Mm-hmm.
What are we doing?
And either way, you're taking on...
You're putting two of the top 3 motorsports series in the world head-to-head in the same geographical region of North America on the same weekend.
Yeah. And
what are you doing?
And as we've proven, if it happens to be that IndyCar and NASCAR switch, they're taking Miami up against Talladega, the ultimate party place?
There is no way. No.
Buford T. Justice coming into line?
No, we're not going to go home and slap somebody's mama in the mouth. We're not doing that.
Maybe slap a scheduler in the mouth somewhere.
Why do you even run? Why would anybody at F1 want to run that risk?
Yeah. If you're trying to make inroads here in the United States of America, why are you running up against these potential conflicts?
In the same geographical region.
And then you turn around and you decide to take 2 weekends off next year and then run Canada on Memorial Day weekend. But the schedule shows that you're going to put the green flag out for the F1 Canadian Grand Prix while the Indy 500, the most popular IndyCar race of the entire year, is still going on.
Unfathomable.
You're going to get your butt handed to you.
On a silver platter with a gold fork and a golden knife.
Good luck. Just saying it. All right, so what's going to happen after that, shall we say here? After we get past that situation, Monaco begins a very long European leg. Again, starts in Monaco, likely probably going to be the final year of the Spanish Grand Prix at Catalunya. Back to that in a minute. Austria, Britain, Belgium, Hungary. Hungary's going to be the final race before they get their annual summer break, and that's going to run from July 27th through August the 20th. And then they re-kick up things in Netherlands. Then they go to Italy, the one race in Italy. And Madrid, Spain, that's going to be that combination road street course before they head towards Asia once again. So instead of Italy getting 2 races next year, Spain gets 2 races. But again, probably the final year of the Catalunya course, which means there's an opening for a race somewhere. Does that mean that they go back to Italy for a second race, or can they now start moving that around and maybe put France back on the calendar for a year? Maybe we get Germany in a year. Nobody's talking about it. I'm just throwing out things and seeing what might stick. How's that? After Madrid, Spain, then they head toward Asia once again. They'll go to Baku, Azerbaijan, then go to Singapore, the one standalone Asian race, if you will, from the Oriental section, if you will. Some people don't like that particular part of it. And then you head back to the Western Hemisphere. You'll start with the United States Grand Prix at Circuit of the Americas. That's going to be October 23rd through 25th. Then you head down to Mexico, then down to Brazil, back into the United States for the Las Vegas Grand Prix the weekend of November 19th through 21st. And then you'll get the final 2 races of the 2026 season, which will be, once again, in Qatar and Abu Dhabi. Again, the race that falls off the schedule, Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix at Imola in Italy. Otherwise, it's all the same tracks. Madrid comes on, and Imola falls off. That's it. And then you switch Canada and Monaco.
I see another problem.
I'm not surprised. What do you got?
I see another potential problem.
Okay.
And they've pulled this stunt before. This year, for this fall, what's the dates of Talladega in the fall? October 17th through the 19th.
Yeah.
You look at that week, October 23rd through 25th.
Yeah, they're skirting with it.
Let's just say that there may be another off week thrown in there somewhere, and that date happens to fall there again.
Mm-hmm.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have another doubleheader in the same geographical region.
Yeah.
In a geographical region again.
Mm-hmm. Because we know they're not going to go to Phoenix next year.
Yeah.
For the final race of the year, I should say. But it will probably end up in the round of 8.
Possibly.
Would you Phoenix and Vegas on the same weekend? Phoenix hosting NASCAR and Vegas hosting F1 on the same weekend?
I don't think they would be running NASCAR that late because Vegas would be 19th through 21st of November.
It'd be close.
It'd be before, but
it'd be close. It depends on how many off weekends they put next year into the schedule. You got to remember, this year they've only got the one, and that already happened in Easter. So they might give us another off weekend.
But the aspect of Talladega butting up in either on the same weekend or in consecutive weekends back to back with Formula One in the United States is crazy. Okay, that's my first point. Second point, I'm still going to go with what I've said on this platform for a long time now. There does not need to be more than one F1 race in a respective country. U.S. does not need 3 races. I'm sorry.
Despite the fact that they're really trying to grow the series here.
They're trying to, yes, but they don't need 3 races.
Yeah.
Get to what I would call a crown jewel, call it your crown jewel location. Make it your centerpiece, run with it. Spain does not need 2 races.
Well, no, but that's only for 1 year anyway.
It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
They still don't need 2 races.
That's a 1 year thing. All right. So, of the 3 places that are here in the United States that they run, which of the 3 do you consider, or would you consider, a crown jewel? You know, and I've got an affinity for COTA, mainly because the people that built it specifically to host F1.
Bingo.
Whereas you're carving a track out of a parking lot in Miami,
and carving a track through a city.
Yeah, which is not unheard of.
Baku does it.
Yeah.
Who else? Baku does it.
Monaco, obviously.
Baku, Monaco. That's it, because all the other courses are permanent courses.
And there's, I mean, in watching the F1 race at Las Vegas last year, it has been run too late for me on other occasions. But I purposely made sure that I watched the Vegas Grand Prix last year.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to admit, it's an attractive course. It's an attractive race when it comes to all the scenery and everything that's in the background.
Sure.
But again, I go back to the fact that the people who built Circuit of the Americas near Austin, Texas, built it specifically as a dedicated road course to host F1 in the United States.
And it's proven itself admirably well.
It's proven itself quite popular. The last couple of years in a row, they have gotten more than 400,000 people going through the turnstiles over the course of the weekend.
I thought there was one year they pushed over 500,000.
They might have.
May have been.
They might have.
But that one, that's your centerpiece for me.
Yeah.
You take, and probably this has to do something with Stephen Ross, but signing Miami through 2041.
I know. That's
you're
time.
stuck with Miami.
Yeah, you really are.
So the unfortunate part of it, that makes me think if COTA may go by the wayside.
And that's the sad part about it.
That's the sad part, because they're the one that brought F1 back to the United States on a permanent fixed course.
There are two factors here for why F1 has seen a resurgence here in the U.S. Because when they left, and this was the 2007 F1 race that was at Indianapolis on the road course, where everything just went
berserk,
so sideways, it was ridiculous.
Berserk.
And F1 went limping out of the United States with their tail tucked between their legs. It was an embarrassment, that race at Indianapolis in 2007.
Yeah.
And then these guys in Texas decide, we're going to build a dedicated road course specifically to bring Formula One back.
Mm-hmm.
And they do in 2012. And really the only year that I've seen, I can't remember what year it was. I want to say 2018 maybe, when they had the monsoon that just came in and just practically tried to wash away everything, including the race.
Right.
Otherwise, the weather has been good. The racing has been, at least to Formula One standards, good.
Mm-hmm.
And the turnout has been fantastic.
Oh, absolutely.
And the state of Texas, as a whole, supports it. I mean, you get the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders coming down there, and they're part of it. You get massive concerts with big name artists coming in there and making this not just a weekend of 3 practices, maybe a sprint race and qualifying and the race, but an entire weekend of entertainment in and around Circuit of the Americas in the city of Austin. They have fully embraced this as an event, not just a race.
Sure, but...
And then you're going to turn around and state that running a race in a parking lot in Miami is better? I don't really think so.
I cannot see the facility overall we're going to go in at gate 3 behind the home sideline. Oh, there's the F1 garage below the paddock right there. I don't.
It is a little bit baffling.
Next thing you know, they'll have Robert Kraft Condon doing a parking lot stadium race around
Around Gillette.
Gillette. Why did I just say Hard Rock and Foxborough? My goodness, man, get together. And then it'd be around Patriot Place, right around. Oh, we're going to go turn 15 in the Home Depot parking lot out behind the north end zone.
Yeah, really.
I mean,
over by One Patriot Place, the shopping center across the street. Yeah,
shopping center, and then let's pit stop in front of Applebee's over here. That's you need to get back. These countries that have more than one race, i.e., Spain and the U.S., you need to axe a couple of them. Bring back your heritage races. Germany.
Yeah, when was the last
France.
time they were in Germany?
It's been a while.
It was before COVID, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
Germany. Bring back France.
Yeah.
Bring back
I was trying to think where else that they haven't been in a while.
It's not up to spec yet. You can't bring back Kyalami.
No, it's not. And they haven't finished the Rwanda one?
Yes, it's not finished.
That's not finished by a long shot. But yeah, that would be your opening. That's where your opening is to return to the continent of Africa. You just got to find the course that is up to par.
I mean, they've got enough resources to do it. Stop with this ridiculous cap of races. You've got enough resources to do it because let's say, looking at the schedule right here, well, we can't count Miami and Canada because you're on the same continent. Let's say Canada to Monaco. Probably by the time Miami is getting done, they're shipping equipment already to Monaco.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Again, you've got 2 weeks between Miami and Canada.
Yeah.
To where if you consolidated that, you could fit another race in there.
Easily. Easily. I mean,
including an off weekend for travel back over to Europe or to Africa, wherever.
There's 2 weeks. There's 2 weeks between Canada and Monaco. There's only a week between Monaco and Spain. 2 weeks between Spain and Austria.
And that's not a far drive.
1 week between Silverstone and Austria. Austria and Silverstone, excuse me. 2 weeks between Silverstone and Spa. A week between Spa and Hungary.
And then you got the month.
Then they go to Zandvoort at the end of August. A week to Italy, week to Spain, 2 weeks to Baku, 2 weeks to Singapore, 2 weeks to Dakota, a week to Mexico, a week to Brazil.
Should be an off weekend between Brazil and Vegas.
2 weeks off between Brazil and Vegas.
Okay. And then you got to go from Vegas to the Middle East.
2 weeks between Brazil and Vegas, but a week between Vegas and Qatar. Qatar. However you want to call it.
God.
Give me a break.
And here's the thing about it is apparently F1 CEO Stefano Domenicali is still happy with what he saw.
Jeez.
Said he's thrilled with the new for 2026 look of his series. Quote, 2026 is going to be a new era for Formula One where we're going to witness a brand new set of regulations for our sport. The cars and the engines going to be powered by 100% sustainable fuel. We're excited to welcome Madrid to the calendar. See huge automotive brands like Audi, Cadillac, and Ford join the Formula One grid. Okay.
Sure.
Motorsport.com has a report, by the way, on that whole Canada Indy 500 clash. And they state, quoting F1 sources, that that's not going to be the case every year.
If it's on that weekend, how does it not happen every year?
We'll detail it when we come back. Again, 2 off weekends from Miami to Canada. There's a lot of room to play with here, ladies and gentlemen. We'll get back into that report next.
Stay right here for more on the Championship Racing Network. track for more action on the Championship Racing Network.
All right, welcome back in. So, all right, 2026 schedule's out. Clash between the Canadian Grand Prix and the Indy 500 we just talked about in the last segment. Not going to happen every year, but about once every 5 years, F1 officials state. We noted that for whatever reason, on next year's slate, there's a couple of weeks off between Miami and Montreal, then another couple of weeks off before Monaco. Why, we don't know. I mean, travel 1 week? Okay, sure. 2 weeks? Why? I don't know. Turns out it's can and will change in the future. Most years, why not every year? We also don't know. The Canadian Grand Prix is actually slated to happen the week after the Miami Grand Prix. Again, doesn't take that long to get there. Seems a part of the reason might be that organizers of the Canadian Grand Prix themselves, they've requested a date as late in May as possible because of unpredictable Canadian weather.
Huh.
That seems an overtly convenient excuse.
Unpredictable weather. You have a car and have ability to run in unpredictable weather. Why, as you just said, why is that an excuse? There is none.
Yeah.
The unpredictable weather is running Miami in May.
So, and here's the other side of it. If you think about it, if you're going to run Miami the first weekend of May, right?
Florida in the Southern Hemisphere.
Okay. So you're going to run Miami the first weekend of May. And then the next week, you're going to run Canada. And then you're going to wait?
Not much difference.
Until the first weekend in June to run Monaco? So you're not going to get just the August break, but you'll get a break basically from midway through May all the way till early June.
You actually get spring break. That's a default spring break.
This schedule, on the surface, it makes a lot of sense. Again, regionally, you got it right. You go Australia, Asia, Middle East, North America, Europe, a quick hop to Asia, back to the Western Hemisphere, North America, South America, back to North America. But at least you're still in the Western Hemisphere. And then over to the Middle East. That part of it makes sense. On the surface, that makes sense. When you start diving into these dates, it begins to make less sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't get it.
I'm not sure I do either. All right, on to other news. Turns out that all that concern that we might have had over who might fill in for Lance Stroll, it might be all for naught. Aston Martin, while confirming that Stroll did undergo a second procedure during his time off from the Spanish Grand Prix to this weekend's Canadian Grand Prix, note that Stroll has been cleared to race in his home country, their lone F1 race of the year. There were 3 potential options. All 3 had other obligations for this weekend, that aforementioned 24 Hours Le Mans race. So no real option for a reserve driver to step in and take over his car for this weekend. Despite some doubt about the ability of his wrist to be able to hold up, the team states he has recovered sufficiently to be able to get in the car, practice, and qualify it, and then race it. Stroll himself said, quote, "I'm excited to get back behind the wheel with the team for my home Grand Prix this weekend. I was always going to fight hard to be ready for the race in front of the Montreal crowd. Feeling good after my procedure. Put some laps on it at Paul Ricard this week to prepare. Thanks for all the support. See you guys this weekend." This is that same wrist that we were talking about that he injured, basically fractured, during a bicycling accident just before the 2023 season began. Had to have surgery on it then, and then re-injured it because of a crash that he suffered in, what was it, qualifying or final practice? I forget which. For the Spanish Grand Prix.
I think it was final.
Okay. For the Spanish Grand Prix, and because they'd already qualified, when he couldn't get in the car, they couldn't put in a reserve driver because F1 rules don't allow that. So we only started 19 cars in the Spanish Grand Prix. Apparently, it wasn't as bad as they initially thought. I don't know.
Guess not.
We're hoping that that's the case for you, too.
Yeah.
Just to be real blunt.
Yeah.
All right. Then there's Haas F1. This is better news.
I know.
It appears this weekend is a milestone race for the guys over at Haas F1, and they unveiled a new look for their milestone race. It's going to be their 200th F1 start since they joined the series back in 2016. The first year, of course, they had veteran drivers Romain Grosjean and Esteban Gutierrez. Remember that, kids? Then they jumped up and surprised everyone, maybe even themselves. The team debuted by scoring points in their first 2 races of their existence. Last couple of seasons, Haas F1 have been running black, red, and white colors, but this is a throwback look to that very first year. The red and black going to be familiar to the fans of the team, but where there was white, it's now gray. Pretty sharp-looking car, actually. I kind of like it. I'm not sure why they ever went away from that.
Change it to silver and I'm sold.
Yeah, I could see that.
Change it to silver and I'm sold.
That wouldn't be a bad deal. But either way, I like the look of it. Maybe keep it. Just saying. Gene, possible. Especially if you guys do well this weekend. We noted last week that Red Bull, I should say, officially requested an F1 super license waiver for Formula 2 driver Arvid Lindblad. All of this just in case Max Verstappen ends up having to miss a race because of penalty points that he's accrued on his own super license. He's got 11. He is only allowed 12 in a 1-year period, and he won't see anything fall off until after the Austrian Grand Prix. For Lindblad, all the requirements he meets save one. He's got the required number of points. He's got all of the things that he needs, except for being 18. And this is an F1 rule that is because of Max Verstappen himself. Max Verstappen debuted for Red Bull at the age of 17. And because Verstappen did that, F1 officials apparently didn't like it and said, let's make it 18, just to make sure. You got to be 18 to be eligible for an F1 super license, unless you get a waiver. Lindblad's still 17 himself. The request for the waiver on age requirements came out when they said that they would take requests on a case-by-case basis. Lindblad turns 18 on August the 8th, so it's not like he's that far away from it. And based upon his performance so far, they approved it. The FIA statement that accompanied the approval read in part, quote, the FIA has received a request to grant a super license to Arvid Lindblad prior to his 18th birthday. After considering the information presented in support of this request, the World Council found that the driver has recently and consistently demonstrated outstanding ability and maturity in a single-seater Formula car competition and therefore approves the request. Lindblad claimed fourth in Formula E Formula 3, I should say, just last year, and claimed a Formula Regional Oceania Championship in February of this year. He's had a strong start to the season as he got promoted to Formula 2. He became the series' youngest winner earlier this year, and coming into this weekend, he's only 8 points back, sitting in third in the standings in the division. But he's still 17.
I still think they're missing the boat, not giving Chloe Chambers a shot.
Sure.
Big time.
But again, I'm going to go back to this. He's still 17. I don't care how mature you are for your age. You're going up against the best of the best in this particular style of racing. And you're talking about drivers like, whether or not they're having a banner year or not, Lewis Hamilton, who is a 7-time 100-plus race winning champion.
Max
Verstappen will be out, obviously, if Arvid Lindblad gets into the car.
Lando
Norris.
Fernando Alonso.
Yeah. Guys who have 100-plus just starts.
Yeah.
And have a heck of a lot more experience knowing what they're up against and who they're up against and how to race them.
I don't know. I don't know.
And I, truth be told, I would feel for anybody because it is that step. I mean, everybody's got to make it at some point in time. Sooner or later, if you're in the trucks and or the Xfinity series and you do well enough, you're going to get a chance at Cup. If you do well enough in Indy next, eventually somebody's going to give you at least a drive in Indycar.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get that chance. It's just like if you play college football at a high enough level while you're in college, an NFL team is at least going to take a look at you. Mm-hmm. The question at that point in time becomes, can you swim or are you going to sink?
in this case, you better learn how to swim quick.
You better learn how to swim real quick, because we all know about Red Bull and their affinity for just going, well, you didn't do what we wanted you to do. Bye.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Oh, man.
Absolutely.
Let's turn our attention over to Formula E, who saw F1 schedule release and said, oh, yeah? Watch this. Well, they decided to release their own 2026 schedule, too. Race number 1 actually comes up on December the 6th of this year. Then the remainder of season number 12, actually comes up in 2026. The first 3 races are all single race weekends. They're all going to be in the Western Hemisphere. So December 6th, they're going to be in Sao Paulo, Brazil. Then they're going to go in January to Mexico City, and they're, at least at this time, we'll get back to that, one visit to the United States when they will race in Miami, Florida. This, by the way, will not be the same place that they raced this year. It will not be at Homestead, Miami, from what I understand. They're going, guess where? We'll get back to it. After that, Valentine's Day weekend. Hey, honey, happy Valentine's Day. I'm going to take you to a Formula E race. It's going to be the first doubleheader weekend in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia.
Honey, where are we going? Oh, we're going to Saudi Arabia.
Yeah,
no,
exactly.
I think I'll pass.
On Valentine's Day weekend to watch a race. Then you go to Madrid, Spain. That's a single race. Then they head to Berlin, Germany for a doubleheader weekend. 2 weeks before F1 gets there, they're going to hold a doubleheader in Monaco. 2 races slated after that as well, May 30th and June 20th. The locations of those races not announced at this time. Again, we'll get back to that. Then you got 3 doubleheader weekends that are going to round out the season 12 slate. Early July in China, late July in Tokyo, and they're going to wrap up in mid-August in London at the Excel Center. So here's the situation. If this all fleshes out the way that they've got it on the schedule that we just showed you, this would mark a new high for Formula One. 18 races and all are scheduled. Will all of them actually be run is the question. Again, let's go back to those 2 dates that we were talking about a minute ago. They have races scheduled, but they don't have an actual race location assigned. That's why I say, at this point in time, we have 1 U.S.-based race. Could we get another?
Maybe.
Potentially.
Don't know, but if there's going to be any target zones for me to see anything like this, I'd definitely go to Miami, because that would fall on my birthday weekend, so that'd be a good excuse to go to Miami.
Speaking of Miami, another note here. The race in Miami is not going to use the road course that they used earlier this year at Homestead, Miami again. Instead, they're going to go to the F1 base around Hard Rock Stadium.
Lord have mercy, jeez.
The one lucky part of this, if you're a Dolphins fan and you are holding out the hope that they might actually make it really, really far into the playoffs, good luck. This would be an off weekend between the AFC Championship and the Super Bowl, for the record. So if, and again, it's a potentially big if, the Miami Dolphins make a deep run, there is time to work up the course. But can you imagine if they had to host the AFC Championship and then they have to rush to get the race course set up so Formula E could run?
Mm-hmm. Really good question right there.
Formula E will head back to Spain for the first time in a while. They're going to get to run on a shorter version of the same course F1 will run later on in the year in the city of Madrid.
Well, I guess it's a good thing that the Super Bowl this year is not on the draw of Miami.
First time Formula E in the capital of Spain. Instead of letting F1 have the honor, Formula E actually becomes the first world championship race to be held in the city of Madrid in 37 years.
Nice.
Rest of the tracks, Berlin, Monaco, Shanghai, Tokyo, London, all going to return as they ran or will run this year. Those 2 open dates, they state, Formula E officials do, that they are close to being verified. Noted they're in the final stages of negotiations with the cities in question and their representatives. They hope to be able to present them to the World Motorsport Council for final approval soon. What exactly defines soon? Your guess is as good as mine on that. But They didn't even, here's the thing, they didn't even leave any hints. You just mentioned, for example, we know bits and pieces about the 2026 Cup Series schedule. You know, we know when it's going to begin and where it's going to begin, obviously, with the Daytona 500. We know that it will end at Homestead, Miami. Those are things we know. There's some stuff in the middle that we don't, obviously. Right. Are we going to be back at Rockingham, and in what way, shape, or form? Is the All-Star race continuing to happen at North Wilkesboro? Is the Clash going to continue at Bowman Gray? Are we going back to Mexico City? Will we add Montreal? Because there's been talk about that. But the funny thing is that Chicago street course might be going away, according to somebody who has some loose lips.
An actual Cup driver that has really loose lips on his Twitch streams when he's running iRacing against competitors.
Speaking about Carson Hocevar.
Yeah.
You've got the details.
See, last year he's the one that let it slip on his stream that Rockingham was coming back. Rockingham did come back. So now he has let it slip on his stream, and now the stream is not in existence, and it does not exist anymore. That the land of Joliet, Jake, and Elwood, better known as Chicagoland Speedway, because it's Joliet, Illinois, is coming back.
Which, why they ever left, I don't know.
In my opinion, rightfully should.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if the people are going to come and watch the racing on the streets of Chicago, by all means, it's not that far of a drive to go to Joliet to check out the racing. And we've talked about this, especially with this car.
Yeah.
The best form of racing fits Chicagoland. It's that 1.5 mile track. These cars are well suited to that form of racing.
Go to your bread and butter that fits the style of car. Because after what I seen yesterday in those practice sessions, and knowing what I know about engines and this gigantically high altitude they're at,
7,500 feet.
I'm not completely sold that this is going to be a spectacular race.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to watch it because I'm curious.
Curiosity, yeah.
Yeah, having seen this, but you got to remember that the F1 cars, they have turbos attached. They have forced air induction.
And we got Cup cars and manufacturers changing louvers on the hood just to be able to get extra cooling.
Yeah, Cup and Xfinity ain't got no turbochargers to them.
Nope.
Although it'd be fun to see it. Well, am I the only one that wants to see that?
No. and before we go to break here, to the media members that do not know your track specifications, you need to lose your hard card. Because to the ones that sat there and actually said that this would be the longest straightaway that they encounter, next to Pocono, is anybody forgetting about that little place that sits right off exit 168 on Interstate 20 right down here that has a 4,300-foot front stretch?
We call it a super stretch.
Yeah.
It's painted on the wall.
And the back, the super stretch on the back is 4,000. The front is 4,300.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're missing something there, people.
Oops. We'll continue to talk about Formula E because not only did they talk about the future of the scheduling, they talked about the next generation of their car. Gave some pretty interesting details. So we're going to share those with you. And we'll talk IndyCar. Got some IndyCar news. And we still got to get to the NHRA and IHRA. It's a lot of stuff to do in the final segment of this show. Strap in. See if we can get it all in. And a fantasy update?
We will be right back with more on the Championship Racing Network. fuel only, fuel only. Go, go, go. We're back to the Championship Racing Network.
All right, running to the checkers here. One more year of the current generation of the Formula E racer. This week, officials announced not only the schedule, but the specs for the new Gen 4 edition. Shows a major increase in power. And you kind of get some of the details here if you're watching on CRN Live on YouTube. Current racer's max output, 350 kilowatts. Officials state the next generation racer is going to almost double that. Max output, 600. And with regeneration capability also increasing, going from 600 to 700 kilowatts.
Interesting.
My question is the length of the battery going to continue? But aren't they? They're supposed to introduce that supercharger too, aren't they?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
Early testing by former F1 Honda and Force India test driver James Rossiter, who was also the former Maserati team principal, by the way, shows that in a practice run earlier this year at Jarama in Spain, it could run 210 miles per hour.
Okay.
I don't know how many times they'll hit that. They tend to run fairly short street courses, but it's interesting to note. By the way, also, tire provider Hankook, out. Bridgestone comes in next year as the tire provider. Bridgestone's reportedly set to offer not only the fact that they're going to continue, by the way, running all season, meaning treaded tires, regardless, they are going to have, much like IndyCar, hard and soft options next year. So it's not just one tire fits all. Mm-hmm. Now you get that tire strategy thing coming in. Okay. It'll be interesting to see.
Interesting.
With the entire body of the Gen 4 racer still under secret, hasn't been revealed yet, we did get a portion of it in a teaser pic. It showed the nose. Now, the nose cone is different from this year. This year, very, very pointed, right? Next year, a little bit more rounded off. And they state that the intent with the Gen 4 racer is that they want to make that Formula E racer look a lot more like its F1 cousin, not such a radical departure as the current racer is. It's not a bad move because the more different you make it, yeah, you do separate yourself out, but at the same time, you're getting away from kind of the familiarity of it. And if you're trying to make your way in this world, you want people to be familiar. You want them to be comfortable with what you get, as opposed to going, what the heck am I looking at?
Right.
So,
absolutely.
Right, let's see what they do with it. All right, let's head back down to Mexico City here real quick because we want to make a quick note before we turn our attention over to IndyCar. One guy cracked up his car yesterday during the practice sessions.
I'm going to say this is my disclaimer because of being, not necessarily in Cup, but in motorsports in general, being a car owner, driver, every hat under the sun that can be worn, I've worn it.
Yeah.
There is no reason that a Cup car, this Cup car, that if you hit a curb, that it should bend the front clip of the car.
And it shouldn't. No way. But it did.
No way whatsoever.
And in this case, we're talking about the 4 car, and that's Noah Gragson. And you think, well, okay, Noah Gragson, yeah, whatever. Matt and I have now an amazing amount more respect for Noah Gragson than we did when we started this show an hour and 50 minutes ago.
I've had respect for him. I have respect for anybody who straps the helmet on.
I do. I like this kid a lot.
But when you're basically on an international level and you're pulling your bootstraps up and you're going to old school short track method, I'm finding me a front row for apparel next week somewhere. He's helped because the front row was one of the teams that were unfortunately hampered by these glorious travel issues that were had. So the driver has been helping the team get the backup car ready, putting the engine in, doing the setup stuff, dropping the seat inserts and everything back in, putting the shocks and springs on. This morning, rewrapping the car.
Helping wrap the car.
His quote that he gave to, not word for word.
Yeah, we had to edit.
Not word for word. Quote to Matt Weaver, just down there doing media work. Yeah, I absolutely killed it, and it's part of my job to help fix it too. And in my opinion, if you don't feel that way, you shouldn't be driving them. There's not a lot I can do, but I'm going to be there with them, end quote. Sign me up.
Way to go, Noah Gragson.
Sign me
Making
up.
me a bigger and bigger fan of yours all the time. All right, to Indycar, where Rahal Letterman Lanigan Racing has announced they got a new primary sponsor for their 2025 rookie driver. Louis Foster announced... For Louis Foster, they announced the Drop Light is going to be the primary sponsor on the number 45 entry this weekend and for the remainder of the year. Drop Light CEO Joseph Anderson said this, quote, "The names Rahal, Letterman, and Lanigan stand for more than just racing. They represent a legacy of discipline, vision, and leadership that has shaped generations of talent and performance. We're honored to support Louis Foster and the 45 team and to play a role in building on that foundation. This is more than a partnership. It's the next chapter in an ecosystem of innovation and impact." Wow, don't tell me your public relations guy didn't write that for you. Bobby Rahal noted, quote, "Their team brings a rare combination of energy, vision, and execution that aligns perfectly with where we want to take this program. It's not just a sponsorship, it's a platform for growth. Drop Light's, there's this word again, ecosystem, includes investments and partnerships across entertainment, technology, media, and consumer brands." So they got their fingers in a lot of stuff, and now they're partnering with Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan. Should be interesting to see where this goes. With this RLL partnership, the Venture Studio sees a unique opportunity to honor the legacy of motorsports excellence while helping shape its future. It's going to be interesting to see where this goes. Mm-hmm. Hey, if F1 and NASCAR can do it, apparently IndyCar feels like they not only can, but should. Penske Entertainment officials have been in talks with officials from Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez since almost the time that Penske took over IndyCar and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Penske spokesperson talked to Racer.com this week, said this, quote, "Conversations continue to be positive, and it's certainly a place we want to be," noting it could be as soon as next year. Some early part of the 2026 schedule has already been noted, so where might it fit in? Where could it be dropped in? Not sure. We do have the Arlington Grand Prix. Looking at the first current races, what we have seen, though, is that Thermal Club, which was in the early part of the year before the Indy 500, has not been confirmed. Could they then go to Mexico City? Could be.
That, personally, that would be it's going to sound funny, but that would be a better venue to have a motorsports event at than a backyard road course to where I could sit on my patio and watch the race.
Yeah, I would agree. With some of the pushback from team owners and drivers who have seen the initial drawings and mock-ups, they have been underwhelmed. Got engine manufacturers also asking for more time to work with Dallara on fitting the engines into the new chassis. So IndyCar president Doug Bowles said this week that he's been talking to teams and said they're going to look to debut the new chassis in 2028, not 2027 as initially planned. Representatives from both Chevrolet and Honda said it's going to take some 18 months to turn the new engine rules into the needed 50-plus motors that it's going to take to get through an entire season. They'd prefer a little more lead time to be able to finish engine development, get the engines dyno tested, then track tested, and then built out to supply the teams that they're contracted with. So does this mean that Dallara might make some changes to this new chassis to become more revolutionary than evolutionary? That was the complaint that we heard from the drivers and the teams, the team owners specifically, but Dallara says probably not. They report they're on schedule on their side with this new chassis as it is, means they're apparently set to go with what they got. They're going to deal with the criticism that it is still too similar to the current DW12 chassis that does date back to, there's a reason the 12 is in that code, the 2012 season. I don't know. I'm not worried about it, but at the same point in time, I mean, if you're going to make a change, don't make a change necessarily just for change purpose, but if you're going to make a change,
right,
why not go out there and see what you can do?
Yeah, I mean, it's still got that similarities to that old DW12 chassis, even though they've recoded it to IR18.
Yeah.
It's still got that DW12 technology in it.
Right.
So
yeah, it's out of date. So we'll see exactly how up to date this new one is. Again, the look of it, according to the drivers and the teams who've been complaining about it, is that it's just not enough. It's just too evolution. It's not enough of a change to them.
Right.
Switching over to some drag racing, starting off with the IHRA. The officials there have announced that tickets are now on sale for their upcoming Premier Outlaw Nitro Series. It's that 5-race slate of races that's going to begin July 9th through the 12th, that weekend at the National Trail Raceway before heading up to Milan Dragway in Michigan, July 23rd to 26th. Then they're going to skip August before they continue to run the series September 3rd through the 6th back at National Trail. They'll go September 24th through 27th to Dragway 42, and they'll wrap up in North Carolina on November 5th through the 8th at Gallot Motorsports Park. Tickets are on sale for each of those 5 races or any set of them, or if you are willing to travel, you can get all 5 of them at once. It's up to the fan. In addition, the Outlaw Pro Mod Nationals at Killcare Raceway has their tickets on sale for their Happy Birthday to Me August 8th through 9th weekend event. You can get whichever you want by going to the IHRA.com and go to the events page. This is their top levels. This is Top Fuel, Funny Car, Mission Foods Drag Racing Series, NHRA equivalent. So they're ready to jump in with both feet here very soon, just a little more than a month from now.
Yep.
So, or a little less, I should say, than a month. It's the 14th. Heck, how did we already get to the midway point of the month of June?
I'm telling you.
Whew. So, yeah, we'll keep an eye on it and let you know. During the race recap to the NHRA, we noted that Greg Anderson was able to claim the Thunder Valley Nationals Winners Trophy, the Wally, this past weekend. Along the way, he marked a milestone. His 1,000th round win of his storied career to go along with his more than 100 event wins. With that accomplishment, he's now only the second driver in NHRA history to be part of the 1,000 round win club. And I'll give you 3 guesses as to the first driver to claim that milestone, and the first 2 guesses don't count, Matt.
I'm sure it's a force to be reckoned with.
Huh. He nailed it. John Force. Also, in the aftermath of the Thunder Valley Nationals. Gosh, here we go. If this year isn't the year of the disqualification and penalty, I don't know what year would be.
Yeah, I would say so.
I don't know as I've ever heard of this in the NHRA, though. This is the first time I remember reporting on a massive penalty like this. NHRA has hit Elite Motorsports and Erica Enders with a $5,000 fine. That's not the bad part. The bad part is the 100 championship point reduction due to noting that the rear wheels of a Pro Stock car entry did not meet NHRA rules for the division. Now, what do we mean? All right, here we go. NHRA officials in post-race inspection determined her racer was fitted with what they call beadlock liner wheels. This includes an inner liner tire. What does that do?
Extra support.
For the sidewall and the main tire under launch, right.
Yep.
Reduces the likelihood of tire shake. Does it help? I remember these back when we were running the 15-inchers in Cup Series.
Mm-hmm.
And we used to run an inner liner, and it was basically to where when you got a flat tire, you were able to keep control of the car better, right?
Sure. Yep.
Would it do the same thing in the NHRA?
Considering you don't see flats happen that much, it's hard to say.
Okay. So
But-
this was more really to do the support of the sidewall. And,
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
All right.
Yep.
Well, here's the thing. While that beadlock liner wheel has been approved for a couple of divisions, it is not approved for Pro Stock car. Ender's team has the right to appeal the ruling, but I'm not so certain they got a ground to stand on. 2025 NHRA rulebook covers this. They stated that, quote, unless optional performance equipment for performance or performance-related modification is specifically permitted by this rulebook, it's prohibited. So that's that whole, if it ain't in the rulebook, read the rulebook for what isn't in there, not what is. That kind of covers that part. The rule book goes on, says all model, engine, or equipment changes or modifications not specifically addressed in this rule book must be submitted in writing to the NHRA for consideration prior to competition. Reports have an Elite Motorsports representative talking to an NHRA official about this ruling and those wheels during the previous event in New Hampshire. The rule was expressly spoken to them, and then when they chose to use the wheels in the Thunder Valley Nationals, it was determined to be willful disregard for the written and vocal instructions given by the NHRA. Boom. Penalty. Oops. Oh, that'll teach you.
Yep.
37 entries for this weekend's Cup Series race, 39 listed for the Xfinity Series race. One of those is a debut Mexico Series driver by the name of Ruben Ravello. He'll be behind the wheel of the Joey Gase Motorsports number 35 Chevrolet with sponsorship from Agua Scarch, which is a Mexican brand of bottled water. So that's 3 Mexican-born drivers slated to run.
Yes.
All right. Daniel Suarez going to be in the Junior Motorsports number 9. Andres Perez de Lara, going to be a Truck Series regular, going to be in the DGM Motorsports number 91. And Patrick Staropoli is back, the doctor, racer, Texas medical man who made his Xfinity debut in competition earlier this year in Martinsville. Has gotten 2 more starts with Sam Hunt in the number 24 Toyota. Later this month, he'll be back in the car at Atlanta and then be back for the September Kansas race and then return to Martinsville for the second to last race weekend of 2025. See how he does. It's not bad so far. Quick rundown of what's been going on in the Fantasy League.
Here we go. Really no changes in the order.
Okay.
It's still basically the status quo, same. Really no changes in position.
All right. Don't forget to set your lineups. Road courses, guys.
Yeah, I had to reset mine yesterday.
Yeah. Doing the whole reset thing this weekend myself because it ain't going to look like it looked last week. I'll tell you that for sure.
I'll go ahead and spill my lineup. I don't care. Briscoe, Gisbergen, Elliott, McDowell, Busher. I got Gibbs on the bench. Heads up matches, I got Bush over Chastain, Gisbergen over Suarez, McDowell over Bowman, and Gibbs over Elliott.
There you go. Mine probably won't look terrifically different, but it might have a driver or 2 change. Y'all enjoy the racing this weekend. We'll be back again with Cross Flags middle of the week. And, of course, big show again next Saturday. Y'all have a great weekend.
Great week.
This has been a presentation of the Championship Racing Network.